All right. Um, so what you see on the screen right now um, is some of Journey's work. It's a work in progress for a Lamentation of the Flame Princess module called Punchline, and I apologize to the writer. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But it's a wonderful work of art from my friend Journey, and that'll keep your eyes entertained while we talk about OpenD6 and what it means for the upcoming RPG that Journey and I are creating. Yeah. So what should we talk about first? I think the RPG. Yeah, so a lot of the stories that I've written for a Journey have been centered in what I call the post-human condition. And I've talked about that before. But briefly, the post-human condition is set in the near future. It'll always be the near future. And cosmic alien space gods awaken and come to Earth, and they bring with them chaos. But they don't bring complete destruction, like Lovecraft and other cosmic horror writers would posit. Instead of bringing complete destruction, they bring creative destruction. That is, they change humanity. The core of who we are stays the same. You know, we're contradictory. We're still, angels and sinners. We're still thinkers and brutes. We love our families, but we eat our children. We have all these contradictory elements in us. That's the human condition. It's called the post-human condition, though, because the gods do bring a lot of chaos. And this chaos warps humanity, but also allows humanity to do different things. So that's been at the heart of a lot of the stories, that I've written that I've written in this setting, and like the Burlap Daughter is one of those stories. About a mother who imposes her religious beliefs upon her daughter and her religious vanity, so much so that she forces her daughter to wear burlap and uses the magic from the gods to make that burlap nearly impossible to remove. And so it becomes like a coming of age / horror story for this daughter. So anyways, I want to use the idea of the gods bringing chaos, of the chaos being an opportunity for humanity as much as it is a curse, to tell interesting stories and to play a fun game. And by the way, let me say this, humanity affects the gods too. We look at them, they look at us, and that gaze, that mutual gaze, changes the other. So in the near future, there are a lot of possible stories. There are cyberpunk stories, for example, that can be told. But even though there's chaos, there's magic, there's alien races and such, it's not exactly like Shadowrun, because Shadowrun is very much D&D inspired. A D&D cyberpunk mashup. This is more inspired by cosmic stories, by fish people who mate with people on the coast, and to Lovecraft, they produce terrible offspring. But in this world, when you take the horror out and just look at the weirdness, or rather reduce the horror and increase the weirdness and increase the humanity, sure, the fish people might be kind of strange, but maybe they're kind of cool too. So anyways, I've been wanting to do an RPG about this for a while, but I had a lot of difficulty with that. I didn't care for the purposes of this RPG, I didn't care for D20. Maybe it's because for me, D20 and levels and things like that work best with D&D. And I didn't. There were other open systems, which I dismissed for one reason or another. And honestly, the system I really, really wanted to use was GURPS. But unless I can write something wonderful, present it to Steve Jackson Games, and probably pay them, more money than I have, I'm not going to be able to get a GURPS license. So that's out of the question. And then just a few days ago, I saw that the D6 system was open. That's the name of it, OpenD6. And I looked a little more closely, and it was a system used for two of my favorite games from the 80s and 90s. Ghostbusters, which blew my mind as a game. That's a great game to get. That's a great role-playing game to get. And Star Wars. The original Star Wars game was a D6 game. Now, what does D6 mean? If you've played Vampire the Masquerade, the D6 system is actually pretty similar to it. The way it works is that you have a set of attributes and a set of skills, and the attributes are typically rated 1 to 5, and the skills at first level. The skills at character creation are rated 1 to 3. So to do something, you add an attribute to an appropriate skill, and you get a number. Let's say your character's reflexes are 3, and your dodge skill is 3. So you'd have a 6 to dodge. Okay? And so then you roll that many 6-sided dice. That's why it's called the D6 system. The only dice that are used are D6s. That is 6-sided dice. And you add up that total against a difficulty number set by the game master. If it's an opposed roll, the difficulty is what your opponent rolled. If not, then the difficulty depends on how difficult it is. And that's the basic setup of the system. Of course, there's a lot more complexity to it, but honestly, not that much more. And it's a shame that this system has been lost. Well, not lost, but it's become really obscure. It's simple, it's easy to learn, easy to use, and for my purposes, easy to customize. Not only is it easy to customize, it's open license. There's even a book that shows you how to customize the system. And that book has gone from publisher to publisher to publisher. That is, it started with West End Games, and then, which is the creator of the original system. And then when West End Games was sold, it went to other publishers. And every publisher who's had it has supported the book to one degree or another. Either published it or made it available for free. Or close to free. Right now it's available for free. If you look up the OpenD6 system reference document, that is the SRD, you will find their book that tells you how to customize it. It's a free download. So I love the idea of free. Okay, but I love the attitude too. Even Wizards of the Coast never came out with a book for D20 that said, "Here, this is how to customize D20." And I've had a lot of fun customizing this game. The D6 system, since it's a generic system, and the book that tells you how to customize it, and a lot of the generic supplements for it, whether space, fantasy, or adventure, are written in a very objective point of view. But my first experience of the D6 system was Ghostbusters, and that was not written objectively. Ghostbusters had had the characters from the movie popping out to explain the system, and that was fun. That was fun reading that as a young teenager and seeing like Peter Venkman, like tell you how to use your con artist skill to trick somebody into believing that you actually knew something about the supernatural. That stuff is really cool. So I wanted to capture some of that with the writing that I'm doing, and I also want to capture the heavy metal nature of my favorite OSR products. That is old school. What is it? Old school revolution, or whatever you want to call it. The stuff you see like from Lamentations of the Flame Princess, the stuff you see from people like Zach Smith and Kyle Chenier, Scrap Princess. There's a lot of great writers out there, great artists, and they're just letting their imaginations run wild. So that's what I'm doing. For instance, since this setting is such a mashup, instead of having like one special ability, let's say instead of having one special ability called, let me find an example. Okay. Let me see if I can find a really good one. Okay, so instead of having one special ability called armor, I have several. Sometimes, here, just to give you an example, your armor might be a piece of equipment. So there, my description of that is very generic. You gain +1 die of armor. Now, your armor might come from nanites that infest your body. So in that case, if you're aware of an attack, you gain +1 die of armor versus that one attack. You may activate this power once per round. If you you can buy additional levels of that power. Okay, so there's a little difference there, right? If it's a device, it's always on as long as you're wearing it. If it's nanites, you kind of got to be aware of it so they can see what's going on. But what happens after all the gods brought chaos, right? What happens if this is a chaos mutation, if your armor comes from a chaos mutation? Well, here's how I describe that. A grotesque gel-like mold lives symbiotically just under your skin. It absorbs attacks against you, granting you +1 die of armor. Each time you take damage, your body distorts, and you often bleed this gel, which emits a noisome odor when it is exposed to the air. Thus, each hit gives you -1 die to your presence. That's like your charisma. Until you heal and clean up. If this reduces your presence to negative score, those who don't know you treat you as an outright monster. All right. So I'm having fun with this. And I think that when we release this, you're going to have fun too. Okay, so now how are we going to release this? We're going to write adventure. Well, I'm writing adventures set in the game world, and I'll include the basics. We'll include the basic set of rules with each adventure, and appropriate advantages. That is, appropriate special abilities for characters in that adventure. So as you go through these adventures, whether it's a campaign or it's one-shots, you're going to learn more about the special abilities in the system. And after a few of those adventures will be done, those things will, will be done after a few adventures, and then we'll be able to publish a main book. And of course, write more adventures. So that's the plan. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a lot of fun writing this, and I hope you take a look at it, and I hope you take a look at OpenD6. Do a Google search for OpenD6 SRD. That's 2 words. OpenD6 is 1 word. SRD is another word. And you will see the system there. And if you ever wanted to design your own game, I can't think of an easier system to do it in, or a more welcoming one. So that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.